Blockchain has gotten a reputation over the last 10 years. We're going to see if I can salvage the underlying technology and my understanding of it today on Builders Live. Hey, I'm Chris Wink. I'm the co-founder, publisher, and CEO of Technically, the news organization with a community of technologists and entrepreneurs. For more than, or practically 10 years, blockchain has been around the beat that we at Technically have had. We've covered generation of well-intentioned startups built on it, activists and advocates defending it, but also we've never been able to ignore a kind of like sprinkle of misdeeds or misactions around the technology. And I have been growing and increasingly feeling like maybe the gains aren't worth the pains. So I needed to check myself. And to do that, I'm bringing in a friend, Karla Ballard, social entrepreneur behind a company called HUMN. She ran prominently in 2020 as an independent for vice president of the United States with the co-founder of Tether, longtime advocate and activist, organizer on digital access and inclusion. And if anyone is going to convince me that I shouldn't entirely cast aside blockchain, it's going to be Karla. Karla, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you. And thank you also for being someone who I can call and say, Karla, I think it's all nonsense. What do you got? So let me start. I know that there is some signal in this noise. I think I'm hoping to leave our conversation with an opinion on whether I think there's enough signal in the noise. So why don't you start me off? Where are we in the blockchain moment? You know that a lot of people hear blockchain and their eyes roll back, or they immediately feel like someone's trying to spam them out of money. Talk to me about what is real today that you're thinking still inspires you about this underlying technology.
Thank you so much for even holding space for it, because in the conversation, because a lot of people are feeling that way, let's be honest. And so number one, let's start with when it was founded. 1970s to the 90s. People were like, wait a minute, what? So right there, we have to understand this has been around for quite some time. So you start.
And by that, the idea of a distributed ledger, that is
cryptography is what then created the distributed ledger, right? So let's start in 90s, and then 2008, there was this paper that came out in October called the Satoshi Papers, right? So we're talking now about the beginning of how this distributed ledger would actually be used. And so that's when cryptocurrency became a part of this. Remember, cryptography is what really created the value behind this open ledger, that everything was immutable. So that was 2009. And then we started to see the modern blockchain wording start to come out. Next was 2015. 2015, you had Ethereum. So I could now program, right, the blockchain around smart contracts. I could say if X, then Y, right, for every transaction that was happening. So that was 2015. You started to have governments, right, coming on board using this technology. Utah County, Commissioner Tobin Gardner, she created the first opportunity for you to get married on the blockchain. Okay. And that's growing, by the way. Their county is very happy with that. And then you have digital ID. I started attending smart city, conferences and speaking on panels about the blockchain for various digital ID conversations, right? So now you passed the legislation last year where the cryptocurrency aspect of the blockchain started to become now legal legislation, right? The Stablecoin Act, that's full blockchain technology right there. JP Morgan, right now NASDAQ is talking about tokenizing various things on the blockchain. So it's being adopted like never before, number one. And let me put a pin in this. Do I think that there are ways that we could have gone about this differently? Absolutely. But if we recall what happened when the internet came out, same almost verbatim conversations. So
Yeah.
that's Web 2, right? And then Web 3. So if you remember all the guys from AOL and all Art Bushkin and all these wonderful gentlemen out of DC that were working on the internet, we're going through the same cycle. And so it makes sense that people are asking questions.
Man, so much good stuff in there. Let me try to pick through this. So we'll come back to the internet comparison. I think that's one to wrestle with. Mm-hmm. One thing that I wonder, as an outsider to this world, when I speak to others, I think there's an interesting exercise, and maybe you have a thought for me. If any emerging technology, the challenge is to get in past the true believers and let other people recognize, understand even what we're talking about. And so you tend to want like kind of an example for people to get their heads around, kind of like, you know, the web helped the internet make more sense, to the point where those terms almost became the same thing. And it felt like something for a while there was happening similarly with cryptocurrency, as you kind of alluded to, where like cryptocurrency was almost, for the kind of layperson, almost becoming interchangeable with blockchain. You and I understand that that's not. There's a kind of technology, and then cryptocurrency is an example on top of it.
That's right.
So I guess my question I to start with, is cryptocurrency the wrong leading example for people because it is now embroiled and surrounded with so many kind of speculative assets or spams? Or is it just like effective enough for popularizing it? Do you like that cryptocurrency is the leading example?
No, I it's not that I don't like it, but I have been so focused on the last decade of my life to looking at the underlying technology. It's speculative kind of energy, right? Is the currency versus infrastructure. I love doubling down on infrastructure. And I'm not talking about tying it back then to cryptocurrency. I'm talking about infrastructure of the blockchain, what it does. And it's an evolution of our internet, right? And so what I'm loving is that in 2020, I was voted for, right? Instantaneously on the blockchain.
As Vice President of the United States, you received votes
of the United States, right? On the blockchain, just with one tap, that United States veterans, elders who were not able to come in, were able to press a button, and that vote is immutable. I can go back right now and look at where it is on the blockchain. That, and no one can, mess with the Chad of it, if you will. Remember the Chads in Florida? So you have the ability to not erase it. You can't white it out. And anything you try to do can be noted immediately. So that, to me, the infrastructure, the trust factor, and trust is eroding right now, right? The trust factor of that technology is high, very high.
There's like an obvious artificial intelligence comparison where when we talk to researchers, many are critical even of the term artificial intelligence is that the way the term uses is too broad. It essentially just means computer systems that mimic human cognition. So that's like kind of anything could be that.
Yeah.
Right now, in this exact moment in time, when most Americans use the term AI or AI tool, they typically mean this very narrow use case of like an LLM-powered chatbot. And for people inside the weeds, it's not quite the same thing, but it's the same kind of thing of the internet and web. Like we have this moment where a technology powers a use case that becomes most popular, and then that use case shapes most people's relationship with the platform. Technology. So right now, ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude are shaping people's opinions about artificial intelligence, even though that phrase is super big. And a similar thing kind of happened where cryptocurrency and everyone's experience with like their kind of weird cousin who was obsessed with kind of like meme coins or whatever briefly shaped their opinion about blockchain. And I worry for kind of blockchain enthusiasts that you risk losing the thread if they're too kind of linked. And so I appreciate people like you who are trying to say, look, I want to get serious about kind of the use case, why the actual underlying technology is Interesting. Let me move to another term that you said that comes up too. How the use of Web3 was brought sometimes to almost kind of like rehabilitate the concept. It was a new way. We technically hosted, I remember, an event, and we had some Web3 talkers, and I remember one of the reader attendee survey feedbacks we got was, you just, hiding blockchain with Web3 terms. We got kind of criticized for it, but from some of our most critical engineering attendees.
Enthusiasts.
Yeah. And we get criticism all the time, but I guess I'm curious, Web3, talk to me about the terms you prefer. Like, is Web3 doing important work to acknowledge this is infrastructure, as you alluded to? Like, do you like the term Web3? How are you choosing to use these terms?
So first of all, my friend Ebenezer, and he might be listening to this,
Shout
he
out
was like,
Ebenezer.
Karla, don't use Web3.
Okay, interesting. So tell me that. Help inform me then. Why?
I said to him, I enjoy, for those that are crypto curious and blockchain curious, when questions are kind of coming this way, to make it as basic as possible, right? So you have the internet, and then you have Web3, which, yes, includes blockchain infrastructure. I'm not talking about cryptocurrency now. I'm talking about the blockchain infrastructure. You understand the internet, you're going to understand, obviously, blockchain in that comparison. As it relates to terminology around blockchain, I think we're seeing all sorts of sort of names flying around. A lot of people are even using Web 4, if not Web 5.
Oh, what are we doing now?
Right. It's getting extra. Then you're also seeing spatial internet is also a term that's now coming out, where they're just they're not even glancing on being specific with the blockchain, but they're talking about quantum computing, what that will mean. So let's stick with, I think, we can just use it for what it is, which is the blockchain, right? And I think we need to emphasize that more so that the general public can say, okay, let's, Chris and Karla, break down what are the elements of the blockchain, what makes it, of value. So
let's do some of that. Good. From the outside, I was always taught that at the most simple, if Web 1 was kind of network computers, kind of internet. If Web 2 was social media, or the idea of like kind of an underlying platform would let money to many, but there still was kind of like a centralizing authority,
correct,
mega platform. That then the idea of Web 3 was supposed to be, all right, fully distributed. A distributed ledger would kind of define the spine of it, that we're sharing a community edited resource. And
what's that word you're not saying? It's decentralization. I would say decentralization is the core of blockchain technology. I would say immutability is one of the cores of the blockchain technology. I can't go in and change it. I just can't. Right? I would say the other piece is, in a trustless society, which we're kind of feeling right now, you can trust that you're going to see these wonderful transactions like you see in the blockchain. So those are some of the core pieces. Also, 24/7 settlement. If I am exchanging something, it happens pretty quickly, Chris. Like really quickly.
Right.
Are you kidding me? So that means that there are third parties that sometimes might take a few days to get something through. But in this case, I can send you something immediately. My friend called me from Kenya. I was on the phone with her. And when the US aid was pulled back, she really got hit as a result. I was able to go into my digital wallet. Now we're going kind of back in the digital asset space. And I was able to immediately send her something immediately into her wallet. She got on the phone. She said, what just happened? What just happened? Because in the country that she is from, she's not used to money coming that fast. So that's another example. The other piece I think is really important, and sometimes we miss this, is that, when you have an opportunity for the globe and human family coming together and literally saying, I'm willing to offer my skills, or I'm willing to do this for you, and you're able to interact immediately with that individual all over the globe with no intermediary. That's a pretty powerful moment. Now, flag on the field with some of this, because you want to make sure that you're able to identify that that's a good person
right,
and a good organization on the other side, which is why our banking industry is still relevant. I'm one that's not like throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm like, oh no,
really
we have established an amazing monetary system here. We have, there are challenges right now in terms of where we are. However, we're going to get through it because we're Americans and we know how to get on the other side of the trauma that comes up. So banking allows for KYC and KYB. We have to continue to embrace those standards. So blockchain has a lot of use cases.
KYC, know your customer.
Know your customer and know your business, right?
Yep. Sorry,
exactly. So I do think that there are very core aspects of the technology that I get excited about. And we have not even opened the door for civic tech yet. What can it do when folks don't have jobs? What can it do to make sure that the outcomes and KPIs, key performance indicators, both for nonprofits and for profits, are met? And I can see it. Each step of the action, I can actually see it. We're tokenizing assets right now, like carbon credits. What's so powerful about that? Carbon credits have been questioned sometime. I don't know, is this a good carbon credit? Imagine if you can have a camera, a picture, an actual satellite looking at all of the work you're trying to do to neutralize our carbon footprint, and I can videotape it. And I can put it on blockchain, and I can have that thing running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I can verify for sure on chain that that actually is deserving of being a good carbon credit. So verification, tokenizing assets, tokenizing capital that we've never even thought of tokenizing before. All of that can happen on chain.
So it's really, I mean, you're hitting on one of my most grounded beliefs after close to 20 years of technology reporting. And it is, technology is neither good nor bad. It's what you do with it. And it's why I have for my entire career seen good faith people talking right past each other, because when they talk about a technology, they're either thinking in their minds this good use case that we all agree on, or they're thinking of the bad actors that use a tool. And there is no tool that can't be used for ill. I want to make one kind of fintech comparison, then move on that point for my last couple minutes with you. I look back at Technically's coverage of blockchain, and our earliest coverage was always around fintech. That was like clearly like even before, I mean, like, yeah, crypto was there, but our earliest coverage, that's, I think, what our newsroom understood. We all right, we understand this use case, because what you said earlier, there was a very clear and specific problem: speed, heavy centralization. It was heavily regulated for some good reasons, but some messy reasons. There are lots of people, lots of kind of incumbents benefiting from that environment. And so our kind of pro-entrepreneurial newsroom brains understood this use case of using a distributed, centralized ledger that would let competition come into a place of incumbency. That has been around the corner for 10 plus years, like other emerging technologies were. And I think this is where I kind of feel like crypto almost was net negative for that world. It took longer for the banks. You're right that some momentum now because of administration change, but there was always like more kind of smoke around there. So lots of conservative parts of, and conservative I mean in terms of like slow moving big entities, which was like scared of this world because it was like so many cowboys running around. And more cowboys than I do. There are cowboys out there. Talk to me a little bit about HUMN, maybe. Let me move toward your firm, because you're trying to put forward what you think of as a more best case scenario. So tell me a little bit about what you're doing with HUMN and blockchain in my last couple of minutes with you.
Art Bilger, if you don't know who he is, please look him up. I have to give him such a massive shout out. He predicted over 12, 15 years ago, structural unemployment in AI would lead us to massive layoffs. We are seeing that, and that's going to impact the city I'm born and raised from in Philadelphia, and that's a problem for me. So I am sitting on something I've been working for and towards over a decade, and I've been studying, almost feeling like I got my doctoral in this space.
Mm.
We have created an opportunity to literally help solve the future of work, help solve all of these national layoffs. And part of that is by giving you a link. So that link opens you up to building your own gig economy, your own economy. And what's powerful about that, that's all on chain. So for us to be able to record these wonderful tasks that you literally have the ability to now do, when you send this link out to your social network, they're uploading their skills, and now you have your instant micro gig economy with your social network that you trust. I call that social capital, now becoming financial liquidity, right? And you're able to connect. You're able to feel like you're trusting somebody on the other end because of that bi-directional rating that you're going to get. And that type of data, in terms of what work you just contributed to your community, is now verifiable on chain. So what does that do? That allows for you to kind of create this incredible trust score, right? This ability to have an opportunity to take that and make that mobile. So eventually I'd love to work with a bank, right, where that becomes an opportunity to consider another credit score factor even. What I love about this is that it is giving people an opportunity. If I get laid off or what have you, I can literally start my gig network today, send it to my crew, and we're going off to the races. We are going to support each other. We are doing this in cash payment as well as now digital assets. The other piece too is deal making, right? We've created, because of the opportunity now for us to do deal rooms with each other, collabs. And these collabs allow for us to kind of get together within various verticals that we're working in and actually do deals together, or even look for other job opportunities. When it comes to the stable coin, and this will be my last piece, we were blessed to get approved to have our own stable coin. We will be the first stable coin that really represents social capital. And I am so proud of that moment, because it gives us the ability now to use this incredible technology, do a KYB, still adhere to those important practices that we've developed. And you're getting paid, very quickly through that stable coin. So I just feel like being able to highlight other use cases of the blockchain is so important. Also, so I have to give Douglas Horn a shout out. He created that first real model of a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization. But what I loved about what he's built is an opportunity for us to also practice that voting, community voting on chain, just even if it's in the work community. And then hopefully it may be adopted across the globe.
We technically have followed you, of course, and have covered your picking at this idea. And in other contexts, we've covered other ways people have tried to get at this big idea, like time banking and broker and barter stuff, sometimes digital stuff. I'm very interested in the problem that I've always perceived you trying to get at, which is one kind of criticism of a system is how we understand store and transfer of value via money. The act we're after is most of us think good and necessary, but we are very limited in the tools we have for it, just because it's been done one particular way for a very long time. So of course we're like constrained. So I've always viewed you as like trying to like nibble out here and try to like kind of shift it. And I'm sympathetic to you as saying like blockchain lets me do it, and you would represent one compelling alternative for me in like a sea of smoke that I sometimes have spoken to those people. I've gone to those events. I'm not always sure if I think they're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Maybe send me with this is kind of a softball because you believe it because you're doing it, but maybe give me your case. you believe blockchain, as we describe it now, is, will be, can be, should be, must be force for good in the coming 3 to 5 years. I worry how it can be misused. Maybe give me your closing salvo of
I will. I am
good.
so proud of our partner Vanadium. Vanadium has built a data and trust platform for the blockchain that is also was highlighted at CES. They were just highlighted at Davos. They're going to be highlighted at South by Southwest. I am so thrilled to be working with them because they're just as passionate as I am about the work of making sure the blockchain is of massive value, and it's clearly seen by the public. One, you're talking with data and trust, right? So even with AI and the LLMs, you've got to verify the origin of that knowledge. And Vanadium has figured out how to do that. We had our first transaction actually, noted on the blockchain, right? And so when we talk about now making quick transactions to each other, Vanadium can track every little second and every little anomaly that may come up. Oh, it'll be flagged, right? So the other piece is owning my data. Right now, if I'm spending time doom scrolling, guess who's getting paid? Karla's not getting paid. Chris isn't getting paid. But when you talk about what Vanadium brings to the table, that's absolutely an ability to get paid. And so I know with our partnership, when we talk about the future of work, and this, I'll end on this, people are going to figure out what are the other avenues for income. The blockchain guys, microtransactions, engagement contribution. You can literally do that down to, $50, $1,000, $20,000, or it could be a partial part of a cent, right? And I'm able now to get this type of variance in terms of my income. That's a game-changing moment when we're talking about structural unemployment and AI and its impact on humans' income. That's a place I am super excited to be able to show the world that we do not have to get depressed about this. We can dive in, we can work together, and we can be creative off of an infrastructure that was built to take us to the future.
Karla, I certainly appreciate your optimism. I need to source it sometimes. You're well.
I appreciate that.
And I appreciate you. That is Karla Ballard, a social entrepreneur I know from HUMN, who's also run for vice president of the United States, has been a longtime advocate and activist around digital inclusion, including using the digital technologies like blockchain. Karla, thank you for your time and perspective.
Thank you, Chris.
See everybody next time.